Alright, let's talk Koga. Koga's a big topic right now after all, and for pretty good reason. Koga has seen quite a rise in power with the Season 3 update due to all the buffs he got. If you don't know what buffs he got, I'll list off all the big ones. His health was increased from 1900 to 2000, his weapons were given better accuracy and better fall off, his claws decay 40% slower, and his memento card was given a new effect where it can give him up to 50 more base ammo. That's a lot of buffs, right? When they said Koga's time in the spotlight was coming, they weren't kidding. They took several steps to make that a reality. Koga has been in the dust for a while now, at least on PC, so I totally understand them wanting him to rise up. And honestly, I'm pretty happy about it. I don't think the idea of Koga being good is a bad thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not completely satisfied with Koga's current status in the game either. His balance right now isn't exactly what I would call ideal. They solved some problems with Koga this update. His level of lethality always felt pretty weak compared to other flanks. His weapons were always kinda lackluster, and that seemed to be agreed upon by the community. Basically all of the other flanks were simply way more lethal than him. Some could evaporate enemy health bars, while Koga was often tickling them, and that doesn't really make for a very fun gameplay experience for a lot of people. So all the buffs to his weapons were honestly a big plus to the character. His weapons feel impactful now thanks to the accuracy and fall-off buffs. You aren't tickling people who aren't in your face, and you aren't losing several bullets to your spread. His weapons feel great, and weapon feel is incredibly important to any character. The ammo card is also a big plus because it allows players to have a playstyle that is reminiscent to his Master of Arms talent that was removed. You combo Memento with Wanted and you can go quite a while without reloading, at least by Koga's standards. Ammo has always been an incredibly important thing for Koga specifically, since he of course burns through it so quickly. Now I do think his lower lethality was how they balanced out his high survivability. Koga has several different movement abilities and ways to heal himself. He may not be bursting enemies down, but he's definitely surviving longer than most of the other flanks. This is where I personally think the problem lies. They solved the problem with his lethality, but this left an imbalance with his survivability, not to mention that Hi-Rez was nerfed as well on top of that. So there were multiple reasons why his survivability needed to be brought down a bit. His weapons don't make him difficult to deal with, it's his survivability. He's able to easily outlive his opponents if they're not high burst characters. He gets away with way more than he's supposed to, and this leads to him doing more since he's alive more. Getting away with a lot isn't as skill based as it used to be either, since he's kinda bloated in terms of power now. And when character power is bloated, they don't have a lot of weaknesses and they ultimately become easier to play due to that. So right now his skill requirement isn't sizing up properly with his level of power. So I do feel Koga's survivability needs to be brought down. I don't think they need to hit him too hard because he is very counterable, they just need to hit him hard enough that he isn't so easy to get value out of. I do also want to say that I do think he is a bit overrated. He's definitely a bit overtuned, don't get me wrong, but not enough to warrant all the bans he's been getting. He is banned a lot, even at higher levels. And I don't think he needs to be banned all the time at higher levels. As long as you avoid letting the enemy get Koga alongside a Genos or Torvald, and you of course draft counters, then Koga isn't anything too crazy. At other levels I see more of a reason to ban him though. He definitely becomes harder and harder to deal with the lower you go. Now back to his balance. What is it they need to hit specifically? Well, his healing cards need to be brought down. Not all of them, but the major ones need to be. Stuff like Tenacious and Wind's Embrace. I also think the biggest culprit of them all is Trigger Happy. This card is nuts. It gives you up to 50% more healing from all sources while you're firing. So his self-sustain cards, life rip, friendly healers, all of that stuff is amped while he's firing. And yes, it does buff Tenacious as well, as long as you dash while holding down the fire button. Trigger Happy, in my eyes, is his biggest problem. Genos and Koga is a super sought after combo, because Genos can pocket Koga with Luminary, and on top of that, Trigger Happy will buff the constant healing Genos is giving him, while also buffing the self-sustain from his cards and a life rip. All of that stacked up together is absolutely insane. It is way too much self-sustain. I also do want to point out that people are buying Life Rip on Koga before Hi-Rez because of how powerful that sustain becomes. And yes, that's at higher levels too. It's not only new players doing it because they don't know how good Hi-Rez is or anything. Now, to be clear, I don't think stuff like Criminal Record needs to be nerfed because it's not like claw builds are super oppressive right now or anything. Speaking of pockets, by the way, Torvald and Koga is an insane combo too because the bubble adds on to Koga's already immense survivability, and this is a common pattern with Koga it seems. Whenever he's good, Torvald and Genos make him incredibly over the top. Of course, those two make every character better, but due to how Koga is designed with high survivability, these two synergize with him way more than other characters. Xin is another character who has the same problem, because his survivability is also very high and he is a bit bloated. You see the pattern? Again, this pocketing thing is a problem with Koga due to his design, but it's also a problem with Torvald and Genos as well. A constant damage lamp and constant bubbles have never been mechanics that have sat well with the community. So it's a mixed bag when it comes to what characters are at fault here. The only times I find Koga to be really hard to deal with is when he's being pocketed by one of these two, or even both. Both is scary, very scary. So yeah, I would definitely say the problem with Koga right now is his sustain and how pocket characters synergize with that sustain. So hopefully when the devs will look at balancing Koga, they'll focus more on that than bringing down his weapons. Again, weapon feel is super important, and I know some have complained about his ammo card, but for fast firing characters like that, the only way ammo cards are viable are if they scale high. Stuff like Tyra's 2 bonus ammo per level never gets ran because the scaling is so low, and if it does, it's a filler, and not really a good filler either. Also, many of you probably guessed it, but I am talking from a PC player's point of view. I know Koga is a lot more powerful on console, but from what I understand, that's more so due to how the aim assist settings are, and it's not entirely Koga's fault. Anyway though, I do want to know what you guys think of Koga. As always, in order to properly understand all the feedback, I ask that you let me know if you play on PC or console when you make your comments. But yeah, that's pretty much it guys. I want to thank you all for watching, I very much appreciate it, and I'm gonna see you guys laters. Bye.